All signs point to this. A new report just dropped revealing the Texans' master plan for who they're going to select in the first round of the NFL draft. It's a little surprising to me because I've heard a lot of rumors of potential receivers dropping till later in the rounds, but all three of these players are on the offensive line. So it'll be really tough to say whether the Texans go with a receiver if they drop, because I'm not even convinced that both of their two options that they're looking at are going to be available. But welcome to Texans Digest. If you're new to the channel, we are this close away from 1,000 subs. It's really that close. But I have to take this time to say thank you. Really do appreciate all the support on Texans Digest. It's been absolutely insane. And we're in the off season of all times. The season hasn't even started yet. So everyone has just been such a great support. Texans Digest community in the comments has been awesome. So really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys. If you're looking for more Texans news daily, hit that sub button. 88% of you are not subscribed. This close away from a huge milestone at 1,000. So again, thank you so much. But talking about the three guys that the Texans are looking at, I don't know if Kelvin Banks is going to be there, but I think it's interesting that they're all offensive line. Tyler Booker, I'm a little skeptical on how he's going to play, and this could be a Kenyon Green situation all over again, where the Texans could be so locked into offensive line that they take the wrong player. I'm not sure if Josh Conerly should be a first-round pick, but he is flying up people's draft boards, being projected as early as 17th off the board, as I've seen, but I mean, that's pretty good. So, first round, all these guys are first-round grades. All three of these guys are offensive line, but looking at somebody the Texans are going to pass on, Josh Simmons. And I'm actually really happy that they're going to pass on him, mainly because you look at Simmons, and not only are there other probably better options in Banks, I don't think Membu's going to drop. Campbell, definitely, those are two top 10, top 15 picks. You have a lot of tackles in the first round that are very talented. So you can look for a Banks, for a Conerly, for a Booker, and be fine with that. Simmons has a big problem coming off an injury. You don't want to take a player coming off a torn patellar tendon, which could be very, 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 very skeptical. So Simmons is most likely, the Texans are out on Simmons. I'm very happy on that. But looking at the the tackles, two tackles, one guard, it's very interesting that the Texans are kind of looking at Booker and Banks. I don't know if either of them are going to be there. The Packers have been in the mix for a wide receiver. I think that's the other pick that could potentially be on the offensive line. The draft is so weird because later rounds is where you're going to find a lot of diamond in the rough kind of players. But the back half of the first round is so unpredictable because so many different players can fall, and that's where you can figure out how or who you want to take if you're the Texans. Because let's be honest, there's actually a lot of good positions in terms of the talent you can get in the first round, not only on the offensive line, but say Emeka Egbuka drops to 25. Do you pass on Egbuka to go with somebody you love in Kelvin Banks or Tyler Booker? I don't think so. Just because if he falls, that's where, if you're a Texans fan or if you're just Nick Caserio in general, you got to pull the trigger on that. So that leads me to my next point in terms of Mel Kiper and his draft. This was the draft board that I saw on the Packers site, but the amount of receivers that have dropped in this kind of little simulator, the Texans get McMillan at 25, which I think would never happen, but there has been a lot of criticism on Tetairoa McMillan and his ability to be a good athlete, be a good route runner. I love McMillan. I think he's a Drake London-esque type of player where he may not be the best route runner, but he's a jump ball type of receiver. Now, the Texans may not need a jump ball kind of player because you have Nico Collins out on the left side. You have, maybe if you get McMillan, put him on the right side. Is it the best pairing? I love McMillan. I think he's going to turn out to be one of the best wide receivers in the class. Golden is up on people's draft boards. He ran a 4.29 40. That is kind of the reason. The combine upped his ante in terms of where he's going to go in the first round. But the biggest thing I want to put out here is that if we see a higher likelihood of other players taken, whether that's defensive line, wide receiver could fall. Offensive line is a big need as well. If Egbuka falls to 22, do you think of trading up? Like, this is all the kind of situations that have to need to run wild in your head if you're a Texans GM or Texans fan, I was going to say. But Nick Caserio is definitely masterminding, planning these things out. I don't think they trade up. I really don't. They're probably going to sit pretty at 25, and I would as far as the 3 players that they have optioned down to, all the insiders know their stuff. They are behind the scenes. I trust them. Connerly might be the pick because I don't think Banks is going to fall to 20, and then Booker is going to be around that 20 to 23 range. Maybe he falls to 25, and I think it's interesting to look at Booker and Banks because those are the 2 guys they really want. So the third name in Connerly could be their pick, but overall, this is the funniest thing. Tyler Booker, dude's got DeMeco Ryans written all over him. So DeMeco's running the defense. We do know this, but as a the play style of how DeMeco Ryans coaches, I do see that he is kind of like that. Coming from Alabama, that kind of background. I mean, that could be the kind of thing that you draft him for, is his character, his confidence just on the offensive line. And as a guard, it could be a little bit more intriguing considering that the Texans have a little bit less at guard. Yes, you have Titus Howard. Yes, you have Laken Tomlinson, but I'd much rather draft a guard in the first round to replace Laken Tomlinson middle of the season rather than have a tackle who I'm not necessarily sure on. But again, it's pick your poison because I don't think you can go wrong with a first round of Booker, Banks, or Connerly. I'm a little bit skeptical of Booker just because of his just the way he performed. But there are some flaws to his game in terms of his hand placement. But I'm looking at the 3 players they're going to get, and I'm surprised that not one of them is a wide receiver because maybe I'm half surprised, I'm half not, because the wide receivers are going to drop. Luther Burden's going to be available. I think Emeka Buka is going to be around that range unless the Chargers take him. But the likelihood of wide receivers there is slim to none. The likelihood Kelvin Banks is there, also slim to none. I am 100% okay with Justin Watson starting as the number 2 to start the season, and you can go out and draft Trey Harris from Ole Miss in the second round, or maybe trade up from the second round to late in the second round to middle of the second round just to get a wide receiver under your belt and know who you're going to get. I mean, maybe they even wait until the third round and get Tez Johnson because his 40 time was the reason he's dropped in the draft. He was supposed to be a first round pick a few months ago, and he's kind of slipped as a kind of smaller wide receiver running that close to a 4.5 40. That is kind of what dropped his rating. But I actually like Tez Johnson. I think he can fit into the system pretty well. You have Nico Collins. You don't need to ask a lot from your number 2, especially when you have picked up some depth in Justin Watson, Braxton Berrios, and with Tank Dell out for the season, that's a good kind of replenish of healthy guys, and then you draft somebody second or third round. If that's the kind of play the Texans are looking for, I don't mind it. But offensive line is kind of the biggest thing. You want to draft the right guys for the future. And when you're looking at the offensive line, there's 3 veterans starting. You have on the left tackle spot, it's Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, as well as Trent Brown. You need to draft at least 1, if not 2 of those positions in the first 3 rounds because you look at it, Blake Fisher can develop. He's only a second-year guy. He can fill out the right tackle spot. Trent Brown is a veteran. Whatever. He can fill in middle of the season if he has to. He can step in. He did it last year. Left side, you kind of need somebody to learn under Cam Robinson. And that's where, if you get a Kelvin Banks, Banks might start the season. I'm not necessarily too sure on how they're going to play that. Maybe they go with the veteran first, and then if Cam Robinson's not playing well, they just put in Banks. And that's the thing that you love about just replenishing positions in the draft. Offensive line, you can move so many different things around. You could put Titus Howard at tackle if things aren't working out. So the ability to move around the line is what I love the best, and that's why I would much rather take a tackle in the first round, and whether it's Banks, whether it's Connerly, and then you look at a player like Donovan Jackson from Ohio State in the second round, and I only say that because he's probably not going to fall to where the Texans have around 57 area, but if you trade up to 40, and that's a little bit of a high ask because it might require a 4th, maybe a 3rd next year, in order to give somebody the luxury, unless you're planning on trading a 3rd round pick, but you might want to use that on a running back. There's so many different thoughts that are just kind of pouring through my head at the moment. And the fact that we could see wide receivers drop, Mel Kiper's draft, I mean, It is Mel Kiper, but Matthew Golden at 12, Ibuka at 22. Does McMillan fall to 25? I think the Broncos need a wide receiver pretty badly, but this is the question you have to ask. Do they get Kelvin Banks, who could drop, or is it Conerly? So this is a tough spot for the Texans to be in, and I'm loving every second of it. We have a week until the draft. The buzz is finally real. Texans fans, it's been fun. Let me know your thoughts on who they get in the comments. It looks to be on the offensive line. They have narrowed their positions down. It's going to be a fun one. But again, hit that sub button if you're new. This close to 1,000 subs, just 80 away. Actually, less than that at this point. I haven't even checked the other video. But thank you, everyone, so much for watching. Comments have been pouring in. The community has been awesome. The support has been even better. So really, really, really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Draft is upcoming. Let me know if you want to see a live reaction to the Texans draft picks. I can definitely get excited about that if I need to. So if you stayed to the end, let me know if you want to see a live reaction to the draft next week. But we'll keep posting every single day. I know it's been a long close, but hit that sub button if you're new. And we'll see you in the next video.